Well, folks, this is going to be a ripper this morning because we're talking with Matt Hopkins, who's an educator. I love education because I've spent my life in adult education, but Matt works in a very interesting area. But first of all, Matt, welcome to Leading Your Best Life.
Thank you, Leigh. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for taking the time to chat to me about what I do.
Mate, you've had a haircut, I see, since last time I saw you. I'm looking at this website of yours. In fact, folks, let me just go to that website straight away because the first thing I was admiring is on this website of Matt's. Look at this hair, mate. It's a beautiful bit of hair there. I don't know what have you done to yourself.
Thanks for pointing that out, Leigh. It's nice that you have. I've just gone short and sharp. I do a lot of swimming.
Yes.
As you know, and it certainly helps in the lead up to Roto swims to have a shorter hair. So
what are you talking about? You wear a cap. I don't get it. I make a study of hair. You can see I'm interested in hair or lack thereof. But Matt, look, it's great to have you, mate. As I said, we met through our pod squad swimming, and then people said, "Hey, Matt's won this award teaching." And then when I looked, I see such a fantastic area you're working in. But before we get into that, let's hear about the Matt Hopkins journey. Where have you come from? Born, family, education? What's the Matt Hopkins story in 3 or 4 minutes?
Yes, okay, I'll try to be as succinct as possible. I came to education in a roundabout way. So I was raised in Perth in Western Australia, and went to public primary schools and public high schools, and really lost my way in that transition from primary school to high school, in particular year 8, year 9, year 10. I really didn't know what I was doing. I just didn't feel like I had any good mentors in my life. I needed some, and so I kind of hung out with a bunch of guys who were not that into positivity, to put it simply. And so I just didn't have much fun. And I did my TEE, and then after I'd finished school, I was like, I'm done with study. I'm done with everything. I don't know what to do. So I just started working in hospitality, which was really excellent. And I traveled to the UK and lived there for a couple of years. I didn't know anybody in the Northern Hemisphere at that point in time. So it was a really kind of cathartic and growing experience for me. It was kind of like a rite of passage in a way, which we don't have in our society at the moment, especially for white people. And so that when I came back, I was like, right, I want to do something that's meaningful with my life. So I went to university and studied education and became a primary school teacher. And then I started teaching in primary schools in Western Australia. And although I really loved being with the kids, there was so much administration and so much bureaucracy, and also it just wasn't the primary schools that I was working at. I had some excellent principals and things, but they just weren't very enlightened environments or engaged environments. And I'd have amazing times with my classroom, but not necessarily there wasn't colleagues who really, we were talking about education and amazing things. It was not really that vibe going on. So I actually segued, and I ended up auditioning for an acting school in Sydney and got in, and then went and studied acting for 3 years in Sydney, which was amazing. And then, we did everything. We did, all the stuff that you do to become an actor, doing Mask and doing Animal and doing all the Shakespeare and Chekhov and reading lots of texts and putting on lots of performances and learning all the craft. And then, because I'd done acting at university and in high school as well, so I always had that bug, that itch. And so then I went and worked as an actor in Sydney for about probably 4 or 5 years, and I had some great success. I did some amazing things. I made some good money, particularly with commercials and that sort of thing. But what I found with acting was no matter how much work you put in, your career is not contingent on doing hard work. It's contingent on so many things that are outside of your control. And I found that really challenging, being somebody who likes to work really hard and get good results. And then we got pregnant my wife got pregnant with our first son, Samson, and she was asking to go home, and I was like, no, I'm still like doing this thing. And then she became pregnant with our daughter, Lewin. And at that point in time, she's like, right, we've got to move back to Perth for the family support.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, okay, I'm going to have to give up this dream. What am I going to do that is going to fill my cup and make me feel like I'm doing really meaningful work? Because acting is not, incredible. I mean, it is meaningful. It has a lot to offer, but just the daily grind of going for auditions, going for castings and screen tests and winning some and not some, and working, thinking you're perfect for a role and investing in it and then not even getting a call back or whatever. So I decided, okay, I'll go back to Perth and I will work with at-risk and disadvantaged kids. And so I came back to Perth and started teaching at the local primary school in Yokine, actually, and was really looking for how I can get into work with at-risk kids, which there's not really that market or realm in primary schools, because they're, kids are pretty well supported, and the behaviours with kids who are at risk and disadvantaged and had trauma and these sorts of things, they don't really start to present until a little bit later in life. So I was in that, and then I just got this phone call from one of my friends out of the blue. She said, hey, there's this school down in Fremantle and they work with at-risk kids, and they're looking for a teacher for a term. I think you'd be perfect for it. And so I said to her, I said, dude, it's not really how it goes. I'm like employee of the education department. I need to be in the job pool and rah, rah, rah. She's like, dude, just call up the school and see what they say. So I called the school and spoke to the teacher who was leaving for a term, and she sounded amazing. The school sounded amazing. So I went and visited the principal, and he was, a very inspiring person. And so on a whim, I took a job. And so the day that I came down to start my first day of a one-term placement here, I got a phone call from Yokine Primary School saying, don't go to that school. We'll offer you this. We'll offer you this. We'll offer you this. We really want you here. So I was like, geez, what am I doing? I'm taking a one-term placement at this school, which is in Hamilton Hill in Fremantle. I live in Yokine. I'm getting this offer of this school, which is literally 150 meters from my door, with to be on the leadership team, to have all these special things because they wanted me. So I was like, what do I choose? And I had the phone call with the principal in the car park here at Port School, and she's like, we really want you. We really want you. I said, I'm really sorry, Kim. There's something telling me I need to follow through with this, and I'm going to try this other position. And I did. And I'm very thankful that I have, because that was over 8 years ago now, and I've been able to thrive in my career. And so I've been at Port School for 8 years, and I think we'll get into what sort of work we do and how this works.
Well, that was the universe really testing your commitment right there and then. You had a school 150 meters from your door, with a whole package, and you gambled on a school giving you one term's work. That's somewhere between madness and commitment. Talk about jump and the net will appear. So how did one term then eventuate into more than one term?
Well, yeah. So I did the term, and I was working. I wasn't even really, I was teaching, but I was working in the kitchen. Because this is a really amazing school, they do some phenomenal things. We do some phenomenal things here. So I was the cook / cooking teacher. So I was doing that, and also working with the team sport and the sport program. So we take the kids out in the afternoon to various parks and gyms and things, and doing sport with them. And then I was also teaching them how to cook. And I was up in the kitchen making recess and lunch for the whole school every day, with a bunch of kids helping me and trying to teach them about healthy food and living. And because I'd done some work in hospitality, I knew my way around the kitchen. And so that was really, I just loved working with these kids and just, trying to find out, listen to their stories and be interested in them, and hear all the things that they've had happen to them that makes them attend a school like ours. And I really love to use my positivity and enthusiasm to try and drive kids forward. And the kids really they vibed on that. They really appreciated that. And it was they could see I wasn't fake. I was true. I was a real person. They trusted me really quickly. And then we developed this relationship really strongly, really quickly. So then after that first term, Barry said, look, your teacher's coming back to take that position. It's just a term. I don't know what we're going to do with you, but we really want you here at this school. So just rock up next term and we'll see how it goes. I'm not kidding you. I was just freaked out to rock up. I was like, during the school holidays.
You got two kids and a wife back in Yokine.
Yeah.
What was Ming saying at the time? What, with all this uncertainty, what was she saying?
Well, funnily enough, she was very enthusiastic because she'd always wanted to move to Fremantle and to live in that area. And she just had Lulu, our daughter Lewin at the time, but she was very supportive of anything I wanted to do because she'd also realised that, well, it was our decision to move back. But yeah, she was just happy that I was pursuing what I liked to do. But yeah, anyway, I came back and I did some various things. But towards the end of that first year, 2015, Barry, the principal, came and saw me about this program that he wanted to really get off the ground. It was kind of already sort of running on the back burners, but he really wanted it to be driven really strongly. And that was the mobile classroom program, which was probably the first program that I got to really sink my teeth into and see. And then that subsequently, me seeing how to work with these kids led to other programs that I'm now in charge of.
Okay. So did you eventually move down to Freo, did you?
Yeah. So then funnily enough, Ming ended up getting a job for Rocky Bay. She's an occupational therapist. So she started working for Rocky Bay. Now she works down at Fremantle Hospital. So yeah, we both ended up working down here. And so we just moved down in the beginning of 2018. And that's another funny story, but I won't. That could be another time I'll tell you, Leigh. But yeah, so we both ended up living down here from around 2018 and just, loved being close to the beach and the community. And when we were in Sydney, we lived in Bondi, and people have all sorts of different ideas about what Bondi is like. But one thing Bondi does have is it has this really wonderful community where everybody knows each other. And when winter comes and all the crowds go away, it's just all the locals down there, and it's a really kind of beachy community. And so we were looking for something like that, and where we are in White Gum Valley definitely fits that bill.
Oh, fantastic. Well, first of all, Bondi, I lived at Francis Street, Bondi.
I know Francis very well.
So I'd walk down the end of the street and swim at the icebergs each morning before going off to work somewhere and running a workshop somewhere.
Yeah, cool.
And as you say, I had other mates around living in and around Bondi. So as you say, it's a great vibe in Bondi. And again, as you say, the actors and the TV people are often living in and around Bondi as well.
They are, yeah. Yeah, I used to swim at the icebergs as well, but my main swimming place was just swimming across the bay every day, which is beautiful, teeming with fish and, all sorts of seals and dolphins and sharks and everything. Yeah, it's a great spot.
No, fantastic. I could go on about Bondi forever. So let me ask you a question. What motivates Matt Hopkins and why?
It's a good question. I've thought about this, and it's hard to articulate, but I am motivated by helping people, I guess. And that's kind of, when I was in school, in primary school even, I was always really bullies. I just hated bullies. Bullies really got my goat. And people who were less fortunate, and in my primary school, we'd have some kids come and you could see them, they weren't quite fitting in or something, because then I was interested, why can't they, what is it that stops them from being as successful, and why are people not helping them, why are people just carrying on, just doing their own thing? So that was from a quite a young age. I had that, and I've always been good with people. And so I guess I'm motivated every day to come and help out. And I always felt very fortunate, I come from really good parents. They're lovely people. They had that, they separated when I was young, and that was, that was its own thing, as you would know. But they were both, you know, mum's a psychologist, dad's a lawyer, you know, they're good stock, they're very well educated, all that sort of stuff. And so I felt very privileged and very lucky to have that, and could see people who did not have that. And I always was like, well, you know, I won the lottery. I have, you know, I live in Perth, Western Australia. I have parents who are university educated. I live in a house, you know, with doors and windows, and comparatively to the rest of the world, that's an amazing thing. And comparatively to some of my peers, that's actually something. So I always wanted to, you know, work with kids or work with people. What motivates me is helping people move beyond what they might be stuck in. And education has been amazing for that.
Moved beyond, I'm making it up, move beyond what they might be stuck in.
Yeah. And I don't mean it's hard when you say it out loud, it sounds.
No. But I mean, the point is, often it's psychological. They're stuck psychologically, or in terms of stuck by the limitations. You know, I love Richard Bach, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. You know, argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours.
Yes.
So you know, where are we stuck? But let me go back to the website and Port School, and let's just run through. Firstly, this award you got, the receives Excellence in Teaching Award. Why the hell did they give you that award? Tell me that. What did you do to win that award?
Well, it's a peer identified award. So I was nominated by some of my peers here.
Peers at Port School?
At Port School, for the work that I've done here with the community and with the school and with the teachers and everything. And so that was very flattering. And then, you know, then I had to write, you know, why my peers had nominated me and should I be up for it. And then we went through a process, and, you know, I think there was over 5,000 maybe people across Australia.
Wow.
Who were put in for it. Yeah, that's right. And then we got whittled down to the final 50. And then I had to go through a panel interview to come down to the final. There was 13 of us across Australia who all won various awards for different things, like early childhood education, senior schools, primary schools, and all of that. So you know, I was one of, I think, just two of us from Western Australia who received the awards. But in short, it was for the work I do at the school and the work I've done over a number of years to help not just the kids, but also the community, the parents, the teachers, the support workers, all of that stuff. But ultimately, really, when you whittle it down, it's the kids and their parents, which is a big part of my job, helping them move beyond limitations, either psychological or social or physical or whatever it is, so to achieve their best. And
I just see here, in 2019, Matt, the principal with Barry's support introduced another innovative program for at-risk year 8 and 9 students. This middle school initiative sought to restore these students' educational journey by reintroducing them to a primary school model of education. Thanks to Matt's dedication and expertise, the program thrived and expanded to 3 classrooms, making a significant impact on the lives of an increasing number of students. So firstly, let's define what do you guys mean by at risk? And then let's talk about the program and what you're doing and how it's helping these people.
Yeah.
So what's at risk mean?
Well, at Port School, you have to be significantly at risk.
What is at risk? At risk of what?
Of falling out of education.
Oh, just dropping out completely.
Of not getting education. Whether that is because you're not attending school, whether that's because you're not attending school because you're a school refuser and you just stay in your room and you're too anxious and you have depression and all these mental health challenges, whether it's that you have all those stuff going on but you just wag every day and you're truant, or whether you go to school every day but you just smash stuff up and just totally, you know, it doesn't do good things for you. So there's a range of different, or you're at school and you just can't keep up with it. You're just behind because you've had something happen to you that caused you not be able to access education for a period of time, and you can't learn any longer. So that's how kind of it's obviously a bit broader than that, but yeah, that's how we define at risk. So you're at risk of not getting an education.
That's a massive range of problems. So I imagine you go through some kind of diagnostic to go, well, what problem area is this person facing? Is it a learning difficulty? Is it a home environment? Is it a psychological thing?
Correct.
So tell us the journey you go through, and maybe if you can give me an example or a case study of someone that was at the risk of falling out and having gone on the journey you guys take them on, a success story. So give me a case study of that.
So when we have extraordinarily long waiting lists, we open our waiting list. This is a problem we have in society, Leigh, is that we have these large. Look, I'm a huge advocate of public education, always have been, always will be. And for the majority of the kids, it works really well. But with this burgeoning industry of mental health and all these challenges, coincidentally coinciding with the advent of the reversible camera on the iPhone 4, but with all of these, social media is a massive issue and has caused a lot more. COVID obviously caused a lot more, but we have kids who are dropping out of education in massive numbers. We could have another school like ours in a heartbeat, or more. So we have extraordinarily long wait lists. We open our wait list for very short periods of time, maybe a week or 2 weeks, maybe once or twice a year, and they fill up straight away. So then we go through those lists and we look for which kids do we think we can have the most positive impact with. Now, on those lists, we have some kids who are pretty hardcore. They're pretty, they've been expelled by a number of schools. They're in trouble with the police. They might have been in Banksia Hill. They've got hardcore stuff going on. So right, okay, we can't have too many of those in one class because that will make a dynamic that's really hard to work with anybody else. So it's about finding a mix. And then we get, a few autistic kids who we think might be it might be a little bit problematic getting them to school, but once we get them safe, and put all the supports in place, they'll be supported. We get quite a few DCP kids, meaning kids who are in foster programs or in residential care programs.
It's Department of
Community Protection.
Right,
so
right, okay.
Kids that have been removed from their families and are either with foster families or living in residential care facilities, of which there's a number, and they're where you might be with 4 other kids in a house. This is what normally happens with teenagers, unfortunately. When things become problematic, often you get taken into care at a young age, things are okay. Once you become a teenager, things start to come up, and the foster family can give children up because they're really, really challenging.
It's too hard, yeah.
Yeah, and so then they go into these residential care places, and they're just, I mean, the kid, it's tough. Really, really tough for kids in there. They have these people who come and work with them. The workers are amazing. They do what they can. But the kids have just had reinforced that they're no good, that their life is no good, et cetera, et cetera. And things are they're really hard to work with, those kids. So we have those kids. So we've got a range of different kids. But if I was to paint a picture for you of a kid who's been really successful, we've got we've got multiple kids who are either autistic, they're on the spectrum, or they have some sort of diagnosis that has made schooling for them really, really challenging. Our school is able to get them in, and we have a period of time where it is really still challenging for them. And when we work with the parents and we work with the kid, where they get to a point where they feel really comfortable in the school environment. They feel that it's a safe environment where their previous school wasn't safe. They were fearful for getting beaten up or abused or attacked or just asked to do too much work when they weren't really up for it. And so we chill them out. We give them work at the right level. We give them lots of wraparound support. We work with the families a lot about what stuff they can do in the home to support them getting to school every day. And then once that happens, the kids just start to chill out, particularly some of these fight, flight or freeze kids that we get. We get some kids that have experienced quite significant trauma, often, the DCP kids, obviously, but other kids as well. And they come to school and they've been bashed and they've been fights and they've been all this crazy stuff.
Goodness
and I've got this one kid at the moment, and he came to us at the beginning of last year, and he couldn't stay in a class for 10 minutes. He would just couldn't do it. He'd like smash stuff off the desk, throw stuff around, and he was literally constantly looking over his shoulder because who was going to bash him? He was from the local high school, and he'd had a tough upbringing, and he'd had a number of, he'd been expelled, been suspended multiple times, and it took us a good 6 months to like get him to be able to just be in a classroom for a 40 or 50-minute period. And he would never be able to be in every single classroom for the whole day.
It's too much, huh?
It was too much. But then I'd take him out and kick footy with him occasionally. I'd let him win these awards that allowed him to hop out, and we'd allow him to hop out and go and punch some walls if he needed, or walk around. And if he last school, if he swore at a teacher or smashed some stuff up, he would have just been sent home or given a suspension or something. And our school's not like that. Like, we do have some significant rules that the kids need to follow, but kids like that, you're not going to have success with them unless you allow them to make mistakes and learn that you can call me whatever you want to call me, and I'm still going to be, and if you call me that, I'm going to send you home because I'm not going to deal with it. But I'm here the next day, and it's just, you just come back and it's forgot about. Let's go again. And after a while, the kids begin to, Matt's there. And the same for the teachers. Louise she's still here for me. She's not upset that I said that to her yesterday. And then they just start to mellow out, and then you give them work at the right level, and you say, look, I know yesterday you smashed that stuff up the desk. You can't do that. We can't do that, because what you did by smashing all that stuff off the desk, you actually frightened all these other kids in the class. They didn't like that, because that kid over there has had this happen to them, and it made them feel really vulnerable. And then they start to get that empathy working as well, and then they start to chill out. So the boy that I was talking to, he's now moved into a higher learning class, and he is in class all day, every day, super polite, comes and, high fives me at the beginning of the day. Actually, he comes and high fives me like multiple times a day. But he has just totally chilled out. He's come to camps, he's come to the river cruise, he's come to all these things that he has been excluded from in the past. And so that's kind of the work we do. We get these kids who have had really challenging experiences, and we provide an environment that makes them feel safe. And so they want to come here every day because it's a safe environment to come to.
So doing all this as a teacher, educator, coach, mentor, clearly takes energy from you. I mean, it might give you energy as well, but the people that do this work, I mean, let's just talk a bit about the personal development or the self-management you need to do to roll up each day and maintain that energy and passion. Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen other teachers where they get burnt out. In fact, I was listening to a podcast, one of our other Pod Squad members, Yetta Oxis, did a podcast with an academic just the other day, and talking that teachers are somewhere between 2 and 6 times more likely to suffer burnout than other members of the population. So what do you do, and what do you see in good teachers that they do in terms of managing themselves to be able to do this each day?
Yeah, that's a really great point, Lee. It is. Teaching is a really challenging job. And I think one of the challenges, if you allow me to just go on the side slightly,
sure,
is that, teachers do a really tough job. And there are some terrible teachers out there. There's terrible people in every profession in the world. You can go and see a doctor who's terrible. But for the most part, teachers are there because they want to give back to kids. They want to work with kids. They want to support kids, and they're passionate about it. And I think, it is really challenging. And at the moment, teachers are being undermined in a number of ways, but primarily through parents. Parents are undermining teachers in second guessing everything they do. And I think also societally they're undermined as well, because it's not a valued profession. So when you have that, it does increase the stress and lowers the tolerance of being able to handle that stress. So that's just as a standpoint for teachers. They're working really hard, and the expectations are really high, and the outcomes can be amazing, but they can also be really hard to get. So that's that. So personally for me and for my team, look, you definitely have to check yourself. You have to have something that you do. Like I swim. I like to, do physical activity. That's something that gets my headspace. I do a fair bit of meditation as well. That really helps. I do some breathing work with some friends of mine, which is extremely helpful. But I think, you can do all of those things, and they're on the side and they're excellent. But the most important thing, I think, is that you have purpose. Purpose and drive can really help you get through all sorts of challenges that you might be having. So with me and my staff, we always are driven by, that was tough. That stuff we just went through then with that kid losing it and all that stuff. And, you had to do this and you had to do that. How are we going to make it better next time? And what can we do? So we're always focusing back on not us and not, I'm feeling really run down, although that's important as well. But the purpose is it's kind of, I'm not being very articulate here, but when you're looking beyond yourself to supporting somebody else, it helps you not get as dragged down into the doldrums.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, what every day it's like, all right, what are we going to do today, guys? How are we going to make this amazing for the kids today? And not that we like physically have those conversations, although sometimes we do, but I just check in with all the staff. We've got this happening, that kid's going to have that happening, but there's just this drive, there's this purpose, there's this energy. And so that when you're at your job, you're just focused and you're engaged in it, and you can go home and and the other thing we do is we have shorter hours because it is so intense while we're here. So our staff start at 8 o'clock in the morning, but they're normally done by about 3:30 in the afternoon. And we don't expect them to stay back and do stuff. We don't have a lot of marking, although we do have marking, but we're not, the kids aren't sitting exams and doing that sort of stuff. So we try and minimize that. And we also try and allow our staff to not do work during the school holidays or on the weekends, so that when they come Monday to Friday, they can really focus and put their energy into the kids and not have to deal with all that extraneous stuff that, it's the extraneous stuff that's when you've spent all time being passionate about your class all day and you're loving it, then at the end of the day, they're all gone at 3:30 and you have to sit down and do this documentation on whatever it is that is actually not that worthwhile. And that's what kills your drive. And then you're getting pressure from your manager that's coming in going, I need those documents, I need that stuff. And you're like, oh man, I've just given all of my energy for the last 6 hours for these kids. I'm a bit drained. And then I have to do this stuff, which I know is important stuff for the education department, rah. So it's about, we try and just remove all that, or I'll take that on, or the admin staff will take that on, so that the teachers just can focus on giving the oxygen to the kids. And actually on that's kind of an analogy that I use with my teachers, which is like the aeroplane. So an aeroplane's flying and the oxygen comes down, it's going to crash. It's like, okay, you have to put your own oxygen on first before you give the oxygen to the kids. And that's just an analogy that works with our kids. Our kids need a huge amount of oxygen. Yep. But if you don't have your oxygen, you're not going to be able to help our kids. So you need to do whatever it is that gives you the oxygen first, so that you can present every day in your best person to work with these kids, because they need positivity, they need consistency, they need the structure, they need the routine, they need the same person rocking up every day.
That's right. The low energy. So just on that, we say the forest shapes the tree, as in the principal of the school, and you've talked there about Barry already. I'm sure you've worked with great principals and you work with not so great principals. What are some of the characteristics of, say, Barry or others that you've worked with, particularly in these environments that require, as you say, a lot of energy and a lot of oxygen? What makes a great principal, and what makes a principal to be not so great, or let's just say leader in general? But let's talk principal.
Yeah. So I've had a principal who was not so great, and I've had some principals who were great. So
that wasn't Barry. That wasn't Barry walking in and out then, was it?
No, that wasn't. That was one of my teachers collecting the mobile phones of the students,
kids,
which we remove every day at the beginning of the day.
Good thinking.
No, look, I think being a compassionate leader and connecting with all of your staff is really important. The staff, just the way that the teacher will connect with all the kids, a principal needs to connect with all of his staff. The principal is you don't have to be the Messiah. You don't have to be this important person who has all of this knowledge and imparts it and all of that sort of stuff. It's not necessarily like that. But it is about taking people on a journey. It's about fostering a belief for the work that you're doing and encouraging people who are doing a good job, and also working with people who are struggling in whatever way it is. So Barry's been a mentor to me. He's an amazingly passionate man. I have learnt an amazing amount from him, and he basically just gives all of his life to Port School. And he's there for not all the kids parents, all the teachers, all the admin staff, the people who clean the grounds, the people who clean the facilities. He's there, and he's got a positive relationship with all of those people. And I think that's what makes a great principal, somebody who is just there for everybody. It doesn't matter. It's like those, those stories about the football. I think it was the All Blacks who they, at the end of their, after they'd been at a stadium and finished, that their coach would make them, or not the coach, maybe the captain would make them clean the change room. Whereas
part of one of their values is everybody sweeps the sheds.
Yeah, so culture is very important. You have to foster that really positive culture, and that's those strong values. Yeah, that's very well pointed out. Yeah,
brilliant, mate, brilliant. So just on that, as you said, so a day in your life. Let's just go through. What time do you wake up, and what time do you go to bed, and what do you do in between?
I'm pretty boring.
It's okay.
I normally wake up at some point between 5 and 5:30, and most mornings I'll do a swim. I swim at Pod Squad from time to time. I don't get there as much as I would like to, but I also swim with a squad at Fremantle Leisure Centre. So that's most mornings, and then I'll get home and have a coffee and read the news. Or touch base with the news, and then I'll normally get into work by about 7:30 in the morning. And I will, the days that I'm not swimming in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll do a meditation, and then I'll have my coffee and read the news.
And then how long do you meditate for? What, 5, 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? How long?
Well, it depends what I'm doing. I do these things called heart lock-ins, which is this practice called heart math.
Okay. I've heard of that, heart math. Yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you all about it another time, Leigh. It's really, really amazing. So they're about, pardon?
I've heard about it. Someone else mentioned that. I think Jill Jensen, one of the other women that we've interviewed, talked about heart maths.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, it's from the States originally, but it's about, it's a meditation in its essence, but it's about breathing through your heart and focusing on, while you're breathing, you're focusing on what you're grateful for. And it just opens up, everything in your body, neurologically, psychologically, emotionally, all of that sort of stuff. So they're about 10 minutes. But in other times I do half an hour meditations, and they're when I just sit and just be with what is, and not necessarily focusing on breath or anything like that, just whatever is there is there. And if it's a busy mind, it's a busy mind. If it's a quiet mind, it's a quiet mind, and just try not to judge it too much, and just just be there and just I'm sitting, and then I'm not sitting anymore, and I'm finished. And and then
you go to work by about 7:30.
Go to work about 7:30, catch up on emails, touch base with the staff as they start arriving, and the students, because a lot of the students are arriving pretty early. And then, then we just, the school bell, we have a morning meeting at 8:30 in the morning, and that's where we touch base as a whole staff and find out, if there's any sicknesses or what's going on, and we need to be aware of this happening or that happening. And then the bell goes at 8:45 and the kids go off to their classes. And then my day looks like, I don't teach anymore, but I'll just, I'll be in my office, I'll be talking to people, I'll be calling parents, making sure that the kids are okay, wondering where kids are, what support do you need from us? And then the teachers will send kids to me if they've got problems, just like little things. They might say, oh, Matt, I need to talk to you about this, or this has come up on social media last night, and can you do something about it, or that sort of thing. So my day is very, very busy, but it's working with the minutiae, because these kids can have fairly complex problems. And if you don't tie up all the little bits, which people go, why are you spending so much time working on this tiny little thing for this kid? I'm like, well, if I work on that tiny little thing for that kid, it's not going to unravel into some massive things that I have to work with all, and it's going to take all of my day and the next week. But if I work it out right now, because they're being bullied or picked on or whatever it is,
yeah,
save myself a lot of work later on. So
prevention.
then I'll have a bit of morning tea and hang out. So we don't do breaks here. We just spend all our time all day with the kids. And that really helps them, because it's recess and lunchtime that they get into interpersonal conflict with each other, that, we just have all the staff around all the time. And, it's a great way to foster relationships and communicate to them and find out what's going on and all that sort of stuff. And then, then my day will carry on like that. And then we have another afternoon meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and touch base.
Do you have lunch? Do you have a lunch break? Do they eat?
We have 2 breaks. Yeah, we've got a half an hour for recess and a half an hour for lunch. But we just go up and we just eat with the kids.
Yeah.
And so I just had
break bread together, as they say.
Yes, so exactly.
That's part of the kitchen, the cooking. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, right. No, 100%. And that's what it's all about. It's about, teachers, we're not these weird other things that are just there to impart the education. We're these people who are human, and we are here to help you learn, not just education. We're here to learn how to sit with somebody and have a conversation, how to communicate to that person who you don't like when you've had a falling out with, how to play sport and lose sport. We get these kids who come here and they lose their mind. They've been obviously, have some challenges, and it's about teaching kids to just be in the world in whatever capacity that is. Literacy and numeracy is obviously extremely vitally important for changing your circumstance in life, but there's all these other things as well which we help teach the kids. And so then 3 o'clock we have an afternoon meeting, and that'll be about what's happened during the day, what issues have come up with the kids, what do we need to do, how can we support the kids the next day, and who needs to phone home, and what parents need to be consulted about things that have happened, et cetera, et cetera. And then most staff will leave, about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I normally stay and tidy up all my other stuff, because my day is so busy dealing with kids and teachers. Yeah. So I normally get out of here by 4:30, 5 o'clock at the latest.
Yeah.
So and then I'll go home, and if I haven't meditated, I'll try and meditate them. But the best thing I do is just go and spend time with my kids. So I go home, spend time with them. They probably don't want to spend that much time with me anymore, but we still muck around and start cooking dinner. And we try to have dinner pretty early, and I love cooking, so I cook food every night. And then sometimes I meditate after dinner, and then it'll just be, if I haven't meditated that day, I'll do it after dinner. And then we're normally in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mate, what a day. Well, just on that, so reading wise, I always like to ask people, books, are you much of a reader or a podcast listener? Where do you get, we say, if you are what you eat, take great care of what you feed your brain. So are you a reader or a listener? What do you do?
I'm a voracious reader.
Okay.
The only problem is, due to the amount of swimming, exercise and energy that is taken up every day in my day to day, I normally can only get a page or two done every night before I'm rolling back into my...
I'm the same, mate. I'm the same. So give me a couple of the books that you've got somewhere sitting near your bed or in your office somewhere. What are some of the books? Well, give me the names of some of them and what you like about them.
I'm currently reading I read fiction and non-fiction. The non-fiction book I'm reading at the moment is called The Endeavour, and it's about the bark, the Endeavour, but it's about where it came from all the way through to where it lies now. So it's a really interesting story about the oak and where the oak trees came from that would have built the bark, and what happened in Whitford where they were making those barks. Really interesting. So we've just gotten to the part where Captain Cook and Joseph Banks have, taken, there's a whole story on how that came to be. So that's it. I'm also reading Seven Moons of Mali Almeida, which is a book on Sri Lanka in the troubles in the 1980s with the Tamils and the liberation armies and the Indians coming in. So that's a fictional novel. The other stuff I love to read is historical fiction. So I've gone through Colleen McCulloch's Masters of Rome series, read all of Connor Goulden's Conqueror series on Genghis Khan. That was an amazing set of books if you're interested in historical fiction. But yeah, so I love, I've read Sapiens, and I like just to read a very large range.
Well, somewhere in there, it sounds like more than one page a night. One way or another, you're getting some reading in there for sure. No, have you been to Sri Lanka?
I haven't. No, I haven't been to Sri Lanka. I've always wanted to go. But I'm just interested in, world affairs and politics and international conflict and cooperation, as it were.
Well, just what happened was I did a lot of work with Mobitel Sri Lanka. Mobitel Sri Lanka was set up with Australian Telecom and I think Singapore Telecom. And VJ Watson, who was Vijedran Watson, literally said, started with sitting on boxes in Colombo. And then I ran a whole range of strategic planning, leadership development. Development.
So you've been to Sri Lanka?
I went a number of times until I started blowing up the joint again. In the years before, in the late 80s, as you say, VJ had said the Tamils had gone in and blown up the airport, and then later on, they started blowing up. In fact, the Hotel Intercontinental and Solinco by that stage. Anyway, that's a whole other story. So the chunk that I did want to then talk about, maybe just I'll do this because one, we spoke about, as you say, purpose and purpose beyond self. Purpose beyond self. We know Maslow's hierarchy talks about self-actualization, which actually is purpose beyond self, living for something way bigger than yourself. And so let me ask you the question: what does spirituality mean to you? What does inner world or seeking and something beyond yourself mean to you?
It's a very big question. Look, I'm not a religious person, but I would probably classify myself as agnostic. I do feel, connection, especially through meditation, and through other things that I've had happen in my life, to a greater purpose, or whatever it is. I'm just open to that. So I've had when I've had things happen to me in my life that are just, there's something there, there's an energy there that, and I don't mean to be woo woo, and I love science. I'm a huge science person. I'm like, don't tell me stuff unless it's data driven. So but in terms of spirituality, I do believe that there is. So my spirituality is meditation. It is the ocean. It's believing in people. I don't need to go to a church for that, although I don't have an issue with people who do go to churches for it. But I do believe in something. There's things out there that are bigger than us. And I guess it's a very simplistic and naive kind of way to preface it, but that's where it is.
Well, I mean, from my point of view, mate, we know that there's an electromagnetic spectrum, of which only a small chunk of it is actually visible. So we know there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on in the invisible. And therefore we know that there's vibration. We know that there's energy, and so therefore what goes on that we can't see, or even at times we can't even measure at this point in time. As Sadhguru says, just because we don't have the technology to measure certain things at this point in time doesn't mean they didn't exist. We didn't have microscopes, for hundreds of thousands of years, but it still didn't mean bacteria didn't exist, So the same thing. So mate, coming back to purpose and future, what does the future hold for Matt Hopkins? Where are you heading over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years?
That's look, to be honest, I would I love living where I live. I love everything that I have in my life right now, I'm extremely grateful. I've got a beautiful wife, 2 gorgeous kids, a place that I love to go and work every day. I live in, the best part of the world. Everything in my life is just absolutely amazing. So I'm extremely grateful for everything that I have. In the future, I run the middle school here, and I work on the management and am in the leadership team that helps drive the focus of the school. But I guess, if I'm honest, I would like to be my own, be the principal of my own school. And yeah, at some point in the future. And I guess that would be my dream, to have my own school, to, do what I do here, with more kids and more staff and more parents and all of that sort of thing, to put it in my own way. That it would be very similar to what Barry does, but some other things that would be a little bit different to how Barry does them. Yeah.
Right, mate. No, good. I mean, it doesn't, leadership doesn't, or future doesn't mean I'm not happy with where I am. In fact, I'm looking back at your notes around, I won the lottery. I mean, that sense of gratitude, talk about spirituality and energy. We know that coming from a position of I've won the lottery, and gratitude is a far healthier place to come from than, I lost the lottery, and I'm which to a certain extent, I mean, I love the Rod Stewart song. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but he goes, luck is believing you're lucky.
Yes. Yeah.
Luck is believing you're lucky. I love that.
I love that too.
That's a great line. So leading your best life, and here you are, as kids at risk, and helping them get beyond all of this programming and all of these ecosystems that they've come from. Yeah. And I suppose one of the challenges, of course, is challenging the person. You are not your ecosystem. Yep. That was the ecosystem, and in many ways, how do I turn that experience into something else? Which, of course, there's a whole lot of psychology and paradigms to go from that. But again, if the role models, whether it be Jay-Z or a whole range of others that have come out of pretty bad ecosystems, that then have done pretty amazing things with their lives, there are great role models and examples there. But look, I'm going to have to wrap up soon, Matt. So if we've covered a lot. I'm just looking here. Leaders, I'm just at compassion and connecting with all staff. You talked about enlightened, engaged environments. I like that. I love alliteration, by the way, mate, which is great.
I love alliteration too.
I won the lottery, and purpose beyond self, and moving beyond what they might have been stuck in, moving beyond the gravitational forces. In fact, that's a great song, by the way. I think I almost get a tear thinking of it from the Wizard of Oz show. There's a song called Gravity.
Oh yeah,
Defying Gravity.
Yeah.
It's such an inspiring song, isn't it?
Yeah.
But meaningful work, helping others defy that gravity that they have bought into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, mate, tell me, is there anything we haven't covered, or any questions you'd like me to ask you before we wind up?
No, I think it's see you, mate.
He's off.
One of my kids grabbing his scooter.
Yeah.
No, mate, you've covered it. I mean, you've absolutely nailed it. I love that correlation between defying gravity. There's some very high notes in that song.
You tried to sing it?
I haven't tried to sing it, but
it is a female that sings it, so yeah.
I have done some work in musical theatre, so I know.
Oh, right, yeah, of course, musical theatre. Well, that's again where you and I have a bit of overlap there. I mean, my agent in Sydney was Bedford and Pierce in North Sydney there, and again, I've gone to all those auditions and TV commercials and so on and so on. Yeah. But mate, good luck with all of this at Port School and all the great work you're doing, and I'll see you at Pod Squad very soon, Matt, and love and best wishes to you and your wonderful family, and keep winning that lottery, mate.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Leigh. It's really it's been an honor to be on your podcast, and that you take the time to interview somebody like myself. I find it, I'm very grateful for that. So thanks, mate, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
My pleasure, mate. All the best. See you soon.
Good on you, mate. Bye.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.